What's up? What it do, man? I want to jump back into this Cuffy BMF situation. Now, everybody keep want to jump on Bleu and his participation or his involvement in this. And for real, I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but I've been kind of avoiding everything dealing with Bleu. Now, Bleu already acknowledged he got a safety valve. There's no reason for us to keep talking about that. I'm not here to make fun of a person. And I really think it's a deflection for what's going on with Cuffy, so to speak, and with everything else that's going on. And I see a whole lot of Demetrius fans, and I ain't knocking them for doing it. If it was my man, I would be like, bring concrete proof. But I want to touch on something that I was thinking about early on when we first started covering this. And I said, yo, Bleu already admitted he met Tammy and he knew Tammy, right? So then I said to myself, okay, he met Tammy, and then I watched some of his interviews where he say Tammy started messing with Demetrius at a later time after he was in jail. I didn't knock on nothing pertaining to that. Then people kept asking me to watch other videos, and they sent me the video with Cam Capone, I believe that's the name, and he said Bleu said he had cut Tammy off and wasn't dealing with Tammy, and then he spoke to Meech at a later time. I'm not going to bring all this up to rehash all this. So any of y'all who's following this, remember that he said he spoke to Meech, and he told Meech, yo, Tammy's hot. And I ain't saying it verbatim, but he said Tammy's hot and some other things is going on with Tammy. And he basically said that Meech kind of stopped talking to him at this time. I'm not sure what time this was. I don't remember him mentioning a date. But according to all the paperwork to go with Cuff paperwork, the Dion Gatlin case out of St. Louis, it alleges that Demetrius connected Cuff and Tammy around, I want to say 2009. Y'all could correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But that's what the paperwork say. And as I was watching all of this unfold, I seen Bleu separate itself from Tammy, right? So I kept saying to myself, at what point in time did Bleu separate itself from Tammy? What time did Bleu know that Tammy was an informant? Bleu alleging that he informed Demetrius that she was informant around this specific time. I'm not going to lock it into a date. I believe it was 2009. But follow me on that. Now, remember, Demetrius' case came out. The case that he went down on came out of Detroit. It's not an Atlanta case. Now, Jack Harvey was on Demetrius' line for multiple things for a long time. And it was even Jack Harvey, for some reason, that was at the spearhead of the takedown in Texas somewhere, right? And I kept saying, why is Jack Harvey so important to a Detroit investigation, although he was trying to do it in Atlanta? But just look at this before I spend too much of the web. Jack Harvey was on the Atlanta situation. Bleu case come out of the Atlanta situation. Tammy's involvement in informant comes out of the Atlanta situation, okay? She only get connected to a St. Louis DEA investigation because Demetrius connected her with Cuffy and they wanted Cuffy in a Suarez situation. But I want to kind of touch on something. If Bleu knew that she was an informant at all this time, right? Bleu, I'm not sitting here, I'm not coming at you to talk about your safety valve and all that other stuff. That's old news. But Bleu, why is your name in Dion Gatlin, your man, Cuffy's paperwork, as still talking to CS1, which we all know at this time is Tammy? Your name is still in the paperwork as she alleging that you was conversating with her at least sometime, I want to say, in maybe 2013. So just read this with me, Bleu. If you out there watching, just listen to what this say, because now I want to turn the conversation back to you, because my whole thing with Demetrius is, when did he know for sure that Tammy was an informant? That's really what I'm on. And I thought by watching Bleu's videos that I would get an understanding of when she became an informant. But listen to this right here. This is testimony that's going to be coming from Agent Keith Cromer again. Now I understand why everybody kept saying, E, you didn't finish reading it. It's so much testimony from Keith Cromer on here. There are hundreds of docket entries with hundreds of pages. This document right here is 192 pages. This document is document 427 from Cuffy Junk, right? Filed February 8th, 2017. It's 414-CR00088-RWS, okay? Keith Cromer is on the stand. This is more of his testimony from the Franks hearing. This is one of the biggest hearings that I have ever seen of this magnitude. Now follow me and listen to the dates. The important thing to come out of this document, and I've skipped all the way to page 82 for anybody that's interested, okay? In page 82, Keith Cromer is on the stand. He is being questioned about all these things leading up to Cuffy's arrest, okay? It says, the courts, Agent Cromer is going to answer only the questions that you ask so we can break for lunch at 12:30. So this part is not going to be long at all. The witness, yes, ma'am. Mr. Humphreys, they getting into it. The question from Mr. Humphreys. This is the defendant's exhibit B5. It is dated July 2nd, 2013. Please listen to these dates, y'all. This is a defendant's exhibit. Now, they're presenting this to Cromer as a defendant's exhibit. So that means that Cuff and Cuff defense team knows about this information, whether Cuff remembers it himself or not, because I'm sure Cuff probably sat through hours and hours and hours of this Franks hearing and can't remember every single thing that happened. But me being a person with a fresh set of eyes at this date, I'm reading it. Now let's get straight into it. The answer from the person on the stand, which is your man. Let me not say your man. I was getting ready to talk like I talk, which is Keith Cromer again. All right. It says question. And once again, Agent Cromer, this is another DEA 103 form. And it is referencing a payment to CS1 in the amount of, it appears to be $2,000. Cromer says, yes, sir. And this is the DEA 6 that is attached to this form. And when we're referencing P9, once again, we're talking about Cuff, who is Dion Gatlin, and P22. When we're talking about P22, we are discussing Burma McKnight. That's Bleu Da Vinci, y'all. And P62 is in reference to a Terrence Morgan. I don't know who Terrence Morgan is yet. And those, your understandings, who are those people to your understanding, Agent Cromer? Cromer says, I don't know who Terrence Morgan is. Okay. So it is basically, it is a DEA 6 that says the CS1 has spoken with Cuff. Excuse me. Hold on one second. So it says the next question is, okay, so it basically is a DEA 6 that says that CS1 has not spoken to Cuff in 3 months, and that CS1 hasn't spoken with Burma McKnight in a month, and that Burma McKnight informed CS1 that Cuff was being watched by police since April of 2009, although that is a mistake. He meant to say 2013, okay? Cromer corrects him. No, that's 2013. He says, okay, I'm sorry, you're correct, 2013. They move on. And that they've arrested several people associated with Cuff. So let me bring you back up to speed. I don't want to break it down too much. When they asked Cromer about that, he said in 2013 that Bleu Da Vinci informed CS1 that the police was watching Cuff and they had taken down several people. According to Cromer, Bleu was already aware of this. We ain't going to dig too much into that fact of how he was aware of it. He could know people in St. Louis. Let me not say that Bleu knew she was a informant. I'm saying that Bleu was still talking to Tammy in 2013. I don't know what point in time that he told Demetrius that Tammy was an informant, because according to the court paperwork and the documents, Bleu and Tammy had known each other prior to Demetrius, then during the Demetrius investigation and conviction, during the Terry White investigation and conviction. So when did Bleu stop dealing with her? But nevertheless, my point is, when did they find out she was an informant? And as of 2013, according to this paperwork, Bleu was still talking to her. So my question is, when did y'all know she was an informant? And Bleu, this does not add up with the timeline of when you said you stopped dealing with her and you knew that she was an informant. According to this paperwork right here, she was still talking to Bleu Da Vinci in 2013. So let me just read the rest of it and read it back so you can think about it. Then let me know what you think. And basically, since the arrest of Terrence Morgan, hold on, let's back that up. 2013. and that they've arrested several people associated with Cuff. The answer from Cromer is yes. The next question is, and that basically since the arrest, Terrence Morgan had been murdered. Now, that's one of those people that were the people that was alleged to have been ordered to be deleted by Cuff. Right? So, yes, sir. And that's the information for this DEA 6. And there was a payment of $2,000 made to CS1 for the information contained in this DEA 6. Yes, sir. If Task Force Officer Aguilar said that it is not sufficient information to substantiate a payment to CS1, which is Tammy, for $2,000, do you disagree with the statement, sir? Cromer says, yes. Yes, I do. And you want to know why? They said, yeah, sure, why? He said, okay. Task Force Officer Aguilar is one of 14 people who work with me. Aguilar doesn't have all of the knowledge of what's going on. Aguilar wasn't in communication with DEA St. Louis, okay? Aguilar's job was to maintain and do payments and assist with the investigation. The people who know what CS1 is doing, they already know. There is nothing inaccurate in the paperwork. This information here in this report is accurate. I hope you're not suggesting that there's something in this report that is inaccurate. This is what Cromer is saying emphatically. The defense attorney says, this is my question about the information, is that this is seemingly historical information that is being provided, something you as a case agent could get on your own. So basically, the defense is saying, bro, none of this information was exclusive, and y'all were feeding this to St. Louis in order to pay Tammy, which is correct. But in the process of this coming out, Cromer was asked about this information in the paperwork referring to Cuff and referring to Bleu, alleging, and I don't know why they would still be alleging in 2013 that Bleu and Tammy were still in constant communication. Let's say this. In 2013, according to Tammy, she was still in contact and communicating with Bleu in the year 2013. That goes against the timeline that Bleu said that he was not dealing with her and he knew that she was informant, which takes me back to what I keep saying to y'all. The reason why all of this BMF stuff is super duper suspect is because everybody is secretly or knowingly or indirectly dealing with informants. Going back to the Frank's hearing, the answer from Cromer is this. The whole thing is sometimes in the interview, they are only telling you what they know. I mean, that's what an interview is for. What persons know. See, you can't have it both ways, sir. You can't have, if they don't know anything, they'll tell you they don't know anything. She said, I haven't spoken to certain people in this time. He's talking about Tammy. Tammy says she hasn't spoken to Cuff in 3 months at the time. And she hasn't spoken to Bleu in at least 1 month. And I'm stressing the fact that Bleu already knows she's an informant. While Cuffy's dealing with her, Bleu knows she's an informant, is what I believe. She said, I haven't spoken to certain people in this time frame. Whatever information they have is in there as well. But at the same time, the report is generated. The report is very important, I would say. Because go look at line 7 in the report where it says P9 and P22. That's Cuff and that's McKnight. So that's Cuffy and that's Bleu Da Vinci. Cuff and Bleu both know where CS1 lives, and therefore CS1 has to relocate. And what it is, we never told CS1 about the undercover meeting that St. Louis coordinated that we assisted them with. They didn't know anything about that. We never told them about that. The only thing we told while their enforcement thing was going on is that if Cuff calls you, you are to vouch for Cuff and the validity of CS2. CS1 didn't know what was going on, but at some point, what's important here is that she knew somebody had got murdered over this. Number one. But more importantly, sir, it goes back to the CS, which is Tammy. In here, it tells you why CS1 moved. CS1 moved because enforcement activity that occurred in that DEA St. Louis and what they did. CS2, as you and your associates asked me earlier, did CS1 move closer to me, which is Cromer? They was alleging that Tammy moved to move closer to him. And the answer to that is unequivocally no. She tells you in this report why she moved, because of the enforcement activity. That is why. Now I'm going to stop there because I don't want to talk too much. CS1 moved because enforcement activity that was taking place in St. Louis with Cuffy. People were being arrested. Bleu, according to Cromer and according to the police reports, had a conversation with Tammy and told Tammy that, yo, they locking up people in St. Louis. The police is watching Cuff. I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to figure out why is Bleu still talking to this informant. This document alleges that this occurred, and this was written and documented in a 2013 report. That's a defense exhibit. So for all of y'all that want to get back into this whole scenario about Bleu and Bleu paperwork, this Cuffy paperwork. Once again, when did they know the woman was an informant? Bleu said a certain time. Now we need to find out, when did Meech know he was an informant? And can we use what Bleu said to narrow down the time frame of when Meech knew she was an informant? Some point in time, Bleu knew she was an informant. He alleged that he told Demetrius she was an informant. I would assume he told Cuff she was an informant at the same time. And if he did all this, why the hell was he still on the phone with Tammy Cohen and she was setting people up from St. Louis to Atlanta? And Suarez is out of California. But nevertheless, remember this. Jack Harvey is a DEA Atlanta agent. Why you think he's so engulfed in St. Louis business and Detroit DEA business? I wonder. But y'all tell me when y'all think that they knew that Tammy Cohen's, they knew that she was a DEA informant. Subscribe to the channel. Free the real.